Reboot It!
Hey everyone, I'm Ron Swallow, and welcome back to Reboot Rewind, the official after show for Reboot It. Today, we're phoning home to talk about the penultimate reboot of Season 5 and our 50th reboot in total, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. So, let's talk about how this one came about, guys. 50 episodes, not counting rewinds, AMAs, etc., and 50 reboots later. Did you think we'd make it this far?
I actually had to double check the list because I have a list of everything that we've done and a list of everything that we've talked about doing. I was like, that 50, that can't be right. That sounds like way too many. And then I was like, no, I guess that makes sense. If we do about 10 in season 5. So I was jazzed that we made it that far, but I couldn't believe it.
Honestly, it felt like a low number to me just because we have done so many other episodes of things, be it rewinds, be it the live AMAs that we had done a few times. And then just the fact that me, Ron, and Ed are together all the time doing Greatest Pod episodes. It's like, oh, 50? I would have thought we'd be at 100 by now. But, it's a technicality.
And I would just like to jump on the question of where did this come from? I think this is another Billy special where it's I think Billy was the one that wasn't scared of it. I'm not saying you brought it up, but when we brought up the giant, pillars of these things, I'm not saying Bill was scared of it either, but I know that I was like, I think this is dumb. I think this is a dumb idea. It's not even a franchise. That's one of the things that comes up in the episode. It's not even a franchise. Us rebooting a one-off that is considered perfect by the people who were soft-headed when they watched it in the 80s. That taking on that was something that I don't think you were scared of, Billy, because you don't have that reverence for it. Whereas those of us who came up in its atomic half-life and got infected by its perfection really had a little bit of reticence, I think.
Well, that ET is what kind of put me on the map in the old Screen Junkies days. It was my movie fights debut, and we were all arguing for, I can't remember what it was, something of the effect of what's a classic that you just hate or whatever. And I had ET, and Dan and I got into it. Dan wasn't even fighting, but me and Dan Merle got into it. And my whole podcast was based off of, I was trying to explain to people afterwards that I was like, no, I don't like ET, but I also was playing a game, so I had to be hyperbolic about every statement I made. So here's a podcast to kind of explain my thoughts on things. Ironically, never did ET for that show, but going into this one, sometimes when we do ones where it's you just don't like the source material, it can either be pulling teeth or it's so creatively freeing because you're like, well, how could I make this something I actually wouldn't dislike? And I feel like that's where we landed on ET for me.
I also think that when you're dealing with Spielberg movies, Spielberg himself has been so open about the fact that he's not good at sequels, on top of the fact that the culture at large has really decided that Spielberg, he's made some untouchable films. And whether you agree or not, I think there is a broad cultural consensus that E.T. is of a piece with Jaws, that these are just two examples of perfect movies that were perfect for their time, that changed the way we think about movies. And so for me, between Spielberg himself being kind of franchise, call it intolerant, because he's done some, but he just has never liked it, and him being so celebrated for making these seminal films, it's always felt like I don't want to walk in his shoes. Going all the way back to when we did Indiana Jones in season 1, that I felt like was one of the toughest season 1 episodes for me for that very reason. It's just hey, Steve doesn't want us messing with this, guys. We just shouldn't.
I'll say about ET, though, is that I don't want to turn this into Billy's review of ET, but I just feel like that movie, I didn't see it until my 20s. But it's like, look, every movie is emotionally manipulative, and that's the whole point, right? Like it's literally trying to get you to feel something. But I almost felt insulted with how much I could see the puppet strings when I watched E.T. It's like, you crying yet? And so my whole take when we were going into this, I was like, I don't have an idea or anything, but whatever we do, I would at least like to be a little bit more subtle or a little bit more authentic or genuine. To me, I just feel like E.T. is so sappy and saccharine and so just, I hate it. But I think our pitch, even with that Zaslav just A-bomb, I still think turned out better to me.
Well, what you read as saccharineness, I've always read as earnestness, right? And like the only thing I could really say to that is it's for kids. Like this is literally, I mean, as much as Spielberg gives it the visual and sort of story trappings of something more adult, like this is made for grade school age kids. And so, you know, I just sort of forgive its emotional manipulation on that level because it's like, yeah, we're going to play all the most obvious chords of this song and we're going to play them very well. And that's why I appreciate it anyway. Our pitch was still squarely aimed at kids. We didn't try to age up. We didn't try to go totally away from that with our ideas. We still said, look, one of the core things about ET is that, hey, it's just for kids.
Yeah. I remember the only thing I remember as a kid watching it that I truly remember is the bike flying part, because who didn't want their bike to fly? You know what I mean? That's it. But
It's
other than that,
iconic.
like it was. And I don't have I never really had like a great love. It wasn't one of those things where I watched it and was like, oh, this is one of my favorites. Like our first, what was Back to the Future our very first? No, Batman. No,
Yeah, it was Batman.
It was Batman, yeah.
It's Batman.
Back to the Future
And-
is the first one we did like sitting down in a studio and recording.
Yeah. And that like Back to the Future I had like real feelings about when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like that's one of those movies that like, but E.T. never really hit that for me, even though I would agree with Bill that it is like, it does feel like it's one of those Spielbergian, hey, don't mess with this. And like it being a one-off is interesting. So that was another thing I wanted to ask you. Why do you think no one ever like even considered really making a sequel, or turning
I'm
it into a
actually
franchise?
Quite shocked. I literally quite shocked. Like with Back to the Future, you're like, why won't they make a 4? It's like because Bob Gale owns those rights and he just won't do it. Like there's a reason, right? With E.T., I'm just like, I don't know, man. I truly don't know. Like, no animated nothing. No, I don't. Maybe there's a couple books that came out around that time, but it's not like it's even the theme parks. They've kind of wiped it out of there. So I have no idea.
Well, I think it'd be a rare case. I'll be quick, Bill. I think it's a rare case of corporation not having the hubris to discount the artist that made the initial thing. Because I just think that they had such a singular voice that even ruthless corporatists don't think that a team of cats from, Korea doing the animation and some 20-year-old from Dartmouth writing the script and so on and so forth, that they're really going to get what Spielberg was able to do with this. And I forgot the writer, Melissa Matheson, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's why people didn't approach it. But what do you think, Bill?
No, I was going to tee you up, Ed, because I remember during the episode you were talking about, kind of a famous or maybe apocryphal story about Spielberg. They were putting the pressure on him to make a sequel, and he ended up developing sort of like a horror take on the concept just to throw them off the scent, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah, but I think that even after that tactic, though, they were just like, okay, we can't get him to do it, so let's brainstorm, guys. Fuck. Is Elliot 17? Is Elliot 45 telling people he had an ill-ass adventure with the army and everything? And then E.T. comes back and E.T.'s got a beard and he's like, hey, man, you suck. I left you the codex to become the grand ruler of this planet. Where? It's in the garage. fuck, or whatever type of stupid adventure, like what's that thing, Starlight? Mark Miller and Goran Parlov did a comic image where a guy went on a Flash Gordon adventure and saved a whole planet, saved a whole universe, comes back to our universe, can't get a job parking cars, and has this adventure, or rather has this regular life with his wife and kids and everything, and everybody doesn't believe him, they think he's insane. And then when he's like 55 or 60, the aliens come back and say, hey, Slam Brannigan, or whatever his name is, you got to come and kick some ass for us, Flash Gordon style again. And he's like, number one, I thought I dreamt that. After all these years of everybody telling me that wasn't real, I thought I dreamt that. Anyway, a take like that with Elliot, I would have pitched that maybe if Starlight didn't exist, and 100 other things. And it wouldn't have been good. The thing that we did with the kids, centering it on kids and their adventures and their perception of adventure, that's a big thing. A kid's perception of adventure and making it as big as we ended up making it. I think that was the thing that differentiates us from the brain trust that may have tried to do ET before.
I would also say if you look at what we did a from scratch reboot. Like, we didn't try to connect it to the old franchise at all. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for the same reason that nobody could really get a franchise going, is like, there isn't a lot left on the table to play with unless you start adding mythology to the original that really doesn't need to exist. It's such just like a tight little hermetically sealed story. It's like, okay, we could learn more about ET's alien species, and we could learn more about their technology. And maybe there's an evil billionaire, an evil government guy, and he gets his hands on some things. But it's like, man, the only way to break the story is by expanding it beyond the scope that Spielberg had created. And that feels a little bit like, come on, why are we even doing this? Which I think is why we ended up in the role of like, let's just take the name and nothing else,
Yeah, well, and E.T. wanted to go home, and he went home. That's the end of the movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
We took the name, but we also took the spirit. I think that's important to denote,
Well, then let's show you what we came up with.
We didn't need to do, almost 2 hours on E.T., but this is the 50th reboot, so, we're celebrating, baby. And once again, not for the 50th time, but for the 50th reboot, I will declare we have achieved reboot. Oh, dance it out, dance it out. Man, if I can, I'm gonna give the very truncated version of this pitch, but when an alien ship shows up in orbit, an 8-year-old boy living in an apartment, or an 8-year-old boy with a friend group that all lives together close in an apartment. They're a bunch of losers who have religious mothers. This kid tells them, hey, I'm an alien. They're like, prove it, and he can't. But he shows them that in the condemned 11th floor of their apartment building, he's built some kind of crazy looking contraption, or maybe it's just a bunch of junk. But he says it called out to the aliens, and that's why they're parked in orbit. And now he needs his friends, these people that he's bonded with as he's been stranded on Earth for the past 8 years, to help him get into orbit. Get into orbit. They're going to steal the spaceship of the world's foremost space billionaire, who himself has declared that he will be Earth's ambassador and make first contact with these aliens. And it becomes a race against time to get on board the spaceship so that they can get to the mothership before this guy gets up there and messes it all up. The whole thing is an allegory for faith and for trusting in each other, because while our main kid can't prove he's an alien, he asks his friends to believe in him and trust that they all came together for a reason. And at the end, they make it to the mothership, and through a pane of undulating light, which may be heaven or may just be a force field that reads your mind, our ET kid is able to go through. Our human kid, even the best friend, discovers he can go through, and our billionaire whack job discovers he can't. In a fit of pique, he tries to harm the human best friend, but our alien jumps back out of the portal, takes a hopefully metaphorical, but maybe literal, bullet for his best friend, and in so doing is reborn in true Christ-like fashion to his alien form, whereupon he has to embark for the stars, leaving his best friend sad, but through the course of the adventure, having discovered that he does have the wherewithal, the strength, the courage to move on with life, and more specifically, into middle school without his best friend. His faith is rewarded. We've seen a Christ-like rebirth, and the evil atheist who put all of his faith in aliens to show him the way to spirituality burns up on re-entry, getting the hellfire he deserves. David Zaslav's happy because we have serviced our faith-based audience, and in the meantime, we have a pretty damn fun ET reboot.
Not
Guys,
to mention in the end credits, the kid goes up to the 11th floor and talks to his best buddy.
turns on that hunk of junk, starts to make static, and right before we cut to credits, we just hear, "Hello?" Oh, they're talking again. There was a lot to this one, but guys, I think we did some good work here today for our 50th reboot. I still think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good pitch.
Yeah, where do you all land? You still feel good about it?
I don't know what else we could have done, really. Like, it's so funny. And I'm sure we'll get to at least one or two of them, but there were a lot of comments about, like, wow, the Zaslav bomb of making it a faith movie. Like, that never shook me at all when it happened, because, like, man, you could make a faith guide to almost any movie if you try hard enough, right? Like, there were like faith guides for like The Matrix, you know, like you could do it for anything. So it was like, I still think whether you are Christian or whether you're Jewish, Buddhist, doesn't matter, or just complete atheist, like, the story still works. You can take that from it if you want to, because it's there. But if you don't want to, the story still works, and I think that's why it's a good pitch.
I think in a lot of ways too.
Wait, why is that funny? Why is that funny?
No, I'm sorry. I listened to what you were saying, but like when we're talking about the faith-based guide to the Matrix, I was just thinking like, you're telling me I can stop sinning? It's like when you're ready,
Whoa.
you won't have to.
Everyone's confused.
Oh my god! But anyway, yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that I think there's such a stigma attached to faith-based films, especially nowadays with Angel Studios doing what it is they do, that most of the time when you think about doing a faith-based film, you think of something like, at least I do, because I didn't grow up in, Bible study classes or anything like that. I always associate it as being something like God's Not Dead, where it's just like a thuddingly obvious, subtextless kind of polemic, for lack of a better way to put it.
Punch you in the face with faith rather than talk about the concept and idea of trusting each other and believing in one another. But that could be an allegory for a bazillion things, and that works for a lot of people, without punching you in the face with hey, trust in Jesus or whatever, or trust in whatever religion that you want to pick, honestly.
Right. And I don't think this is our audience, but if you showed our ET pitch to, say, an evangelical audience, I bet they would say that we did not even come close to going far enough on the Zaslav demand. That, like, this isn't a faith-based film. This is just a film with some interesting messages about friendship. Like, screw you guys. Tell me to believe in Jesus. And to me, I think that's the thing that really made that request something to kind of go, oh, geez, like, what are we going to do with this?
So,
I feel like we did exactly, like I brought it up before on the rewinds. Like, I feel like we were a little loosey-goosey on some of the Zaslav things this season, but I felt like we legitimately, like, I don't think we like completely changed the pitch, but we definitely went back, filled in some holes, and then kind of, it drove the rest of the story forward in a way that like we don't typically do with those suggestions. Like it literally became like the third act structured around making sure it fit within that kind of space,
Yeah.
I agree with that. And frankly, like I think it would make some of the pitches more interesting if we treated them that seriously. But also, a lot of the Zaslav requests are not as big and serious. So this one was a little bit unique in that it's like, no, 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 I'm giving you a note about what the ultimate like theme and message of the movie has to be. So that does sort of demand a different level of integration with whatever it is we're doing.
Well,
For
okay,
sure.
and I don't want to. I don't want to
Bill,
destroy. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say
No, you can.
I don't want to destroy kayfabe, but I have to ask you, Bill.
Yes.
Okay, like these come from some part of your brain. I know they
Yes.
don't come from the top because sometimes I've seen you be shocked at some of the stuff you've given us, which is pretty interesting testament to you as an artist. But in this case, what do you think the thought matrices were that made you put that in here? Because obviously it was something to cement the story that we were telling on some level, not like a creative thing, like even to mess us up. It was
Yeah.
something to focus us on as we were doing this thing about kids or trying to get the alien stuff right. And were they holographic? Was he in a holographic ship in the middle of the neighborhood? All that different stuff we were parsing through. And then here comes this note about the faith-based stuff. It just seemed to focus the whole thing.
I want to know how long that bullet's been in the chamber. If you're like,
For sure.
maybe Captain Planet, and then no, I'm gonna say,
Right. Right.
Have you had a faith-based plan at some point?
That is so it wasn't Captain Planet, but like, yeah, that has sort of been in and out of my head as a great curveball to throw us for a while. I mean, possibly even going back to like before our, 4-year hiatus. But the thing that actually did it was just as we're looking at who's editing these episodes. So it was a combination. Billy, you edited almost, I think, the entirety of the first half of the season. And then you and I were bouncing back and forth in the second half of the season. And the last episode I had edited was the Excalibur episode. And so that one obviously was like super horny and super adult oriented. And that was in my head because I had spent so long working on the edit. And so this one, we were so committed to like, oh, we got to make it for kids. We got to make it for kids. And I think the first thing that came to my head was like, oh, Zaslav has got to request that it be super sexy because that's going to really throw us off. But then I was like, oh, no, wait, we just did a super sexy one. That would feel a little hack. And so my mind just went to, well, what's the opposite? And then it pulled that bullet out that would have been in the chamber, it pulled it off the shelf and was like, oh, Christian, super Christian movie. Let's do that. And so, Ed, to your point, I think when I said it, it was very much just like that whole thought process ping pong through my head in about 5 seconds. And it came out of my mouth. And even as I was saying it, it was like, oh, shit. Like I actually thought it was going to ruin what we were doing. So I was pleasantly surprised at how it did play into like solving some of those story problems.
Yeah,
I do love like that the opposite of sexy is believing in stuff. For sure, that's very funny to me.
I see the AOC.
It works for me too. Yeah,
what goes with prudishness?
I do exactly.
We had this like killer premise, right? Which was like, what if Independence Day happened, and what would what would the kids do? And then it was just kind of like, but then what? Right. And then like for once I kind of felt like I wasn't jazzed about that suggestion either. But again, like it took us in a place where now I'm like, I don't know how you take that out of the pitch. Like, I don't know where that story goes if that's not what this movie is about. Right. And faith can mean any number of things, faith in the people in your life or faith in a higher power. It's, it's whatever you bring to it, but like just the idea of having faith and putting your faith in someone, putting your faith in something. Like, I don't know what our pitch is if you take that element out. It's nothing.
I mean, it's a big deal because in this scenario, there's no proof. And that's like these people who would be like, maybe you didn't go far enough. I think that is far enough. I think these kids have no proof that their friend is an actual alien, and they go on the biggest, scariest, most dangerous adventure of their lives for their friend with no proof of what he is saying. And that I don't know how that demonstrates faith any more like strongly than anything else. Like I think that's an obvious thing. Like, and that's what every religion asks you to do. We don't have proof.
Yeah.
Believe in this thing and create community around this thing. Like, that's what religions ask you to do. I think we nailed that, honestly. So anyways,
Well, and it's funny, just as an illustration of how my mind took the suggestion that I made, but like I internalized it. I think my immediate suggestion was like, all right, we don't have really an act 2 or an act 3, but we have this killer act 1. Can we just pivot it so that it's about angels instead of aliens? Right. And so that was where my literal minded brain took the idea of, oh, make it a Christian film, make it a faith-based film. But the fact that you guys massaged it into this broader understanding of faith, I think worked on a level that certainly my mind wasn't jumping to right away. But yes, does make it a fantastic story.
I mean, if you really wanted to screw us, you should have been like faith-based and like Kevin Sorbo directs it or something like that, you know?
Well, that just ruins everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's trying
he starring Kevin Sorbo and Dean Cain. Go, you know?
Oh God, the double whammy of whackness.
There were some
Chuck
ice
Dixon in there
analogs
too.
in here too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I forgot that we put all that in there. That was true. Like, we did this episode right kind of as a lot of the ice stuff was really starting, and it was just fresh in our minds. And sometimes we go to these rebooted things, it's like there's so much going on in the world, but you kind of focus in on what we're talking about. But this one, it just felt like there was no way that we couldn't kind of relay what we were all thinking at that time into the story that we were telling. It's a great story. It's a great pitch. The more we talk about it, the more I'm like, this is one of our better ones.
And the one thing
as
I would
a
say,
reminder,
good.
The 3 of these guys, they support billionaires, and you want to give them money, give them money. But me, I got my favorite thing, and that's a billionaire burning up as he enters the atmosphere. So, I mean, come on,
Dude, and I mean, really, let's talk about that point, because not only is the billionaire angle very, very, very important to this thing, we earned that comeuppance, Ron, and a lot of the other things we were doing, we didn't quite. We were trying to engineer a situation where they might deserve that. I think certain parts of the Ghost Rider thing, we could have engineered a thing to make them deserve that. But this guy in this story deserved that. And like, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. Yeah. And homeboy can't go past the barrier, dude. Come on, man. Dude, we're like scholarly, bro.
No, and you know what really clicked about that for me was it's also a story point that works for the more, call it rationally minded people, for an atheistic audience, let's just put it that way, because you are taking that person to task for sort of substituting narcissism for religion. Yep. Right? Because his ultimate hubris is what damns him. And his hubris is the same hubris to think, well, I'm the only one qualified to speak for Earth. Like, nobody's as good as I am. And that is a bad thing, whether you are ultra religious or whether you are not religious at all. And I think finding that and keying on it was great.
I feel like that character was like Lex Luthor and Guy Pearce from Prometheus. Like it was the same character arc, but I feel like we pulled it off better.
And us acquiescing to the fact that very few people who aren't in the military or in NASA could ever get from Earth into space via a conveyance. Very few people could. And some of those few people are a dude who owned a thing that killed stores, and a dude who came upon emeralds and slavery, who makes shitty electric stuff and buys stock in companies and then divests. Like, these are our titans. These are the titanic forces that represent the people who have the ability to go up and talk to fucking aliens right now. These are the most likely people to meet them.
Yeah.
These people.
Yeah.
So to have a story where we have some other people meet them and make a better impression, it's as dogmatic as we got, and I love it. I do not share the total disdain for didacticism. I think sometimes most movies tell you what they're about forthwith, and it's just whether you agree with the politics of that or not. People really notice when you're didactic when they don't agree with the politics of the movie. So yeah, some asshole greedy fuck would watch this movie and be like, "Oh, the politics are just assaulting me. There's just so much." Whereas we had a nice multi-layered story that was very subtle in our purview. So that's all I'm saying. I think that part, pedantic as it is, and as Ron appeasing as it was, it's good stuff.
So also our pitch strayed quite a bit from any mythology or lore that had been established in the first movie, the first ET. Do you think we crossed the line from reboot into an entirely different original pitch?
We kind of touched on this already, but I mean, I'll reiterate to say that yeah, we probably did, but I think that's a function of the fact that like Spielberg's movie didn't really have any hanging chads. It didn't have any loose plot threads to grab onto and unravel. So like rather than sort of molest that movie and, you know, just try to milk anything we could out of it, it's just like, yeah, let's make a lateral move, take inspiration from it, but ultimately create something that, like, by any other name, this could be an original movie.
Sure, 100%. So it looks like we all think we did pretty good. So let's get into some comments and see what everybody else thought.
Let's do it.
First up, we got Colby 2763. E.T. was one of my favorite rides at Universal Studios when I was a kid. Sure.
Mine too.
I can't believe they got rid of it. They got rid of it before I ever was able to get to Universal as a kid. Maybe my whole outlook on ET would have changed if I had been on that ride.
Can I tell you something? Riding. So Billy, I'll have to explain this to you and any viewers who have not been, who weren't, because now it's all past tense. They had a moment. You're on the bikes, right? And you're essentially like riding through different parts of the movie. But there's a moment where you go over the town and they built this beautiful, expansive miniature of this California mountain town, all lit up like it was essentially like Doc Brown's model from Back to the Future, right? And it's lit up with lights. And it's something beautiful, especially as a kid to look at, because it's like you never experience anything like that, especially as a kid in the pre-internet era. That shit burned itself into my brain so hard. I would have recurring dreams throughout my childhood that I was flying over what was essentially just that miniature city. Like that's how mind-breaking it was for me to be on that ride.
Can I say, amazing. By the way, just to tie into my ET thing, I think I had just grown up with all that iconic imagery, the bikes over the moon and the ET and the finger and all of that, that when I saw the movie, I felt like I was waiting for the moments and everything in between was just kind of like, yeah. And then I would wait for the iconic moments. And I do think that ride, just kind of, I think it's still their logo, right? Mm. So I'm not trying to say like there's no value to ET, obviously. Like that would just be a stupid thing to say. But like I don't like the plot. I don't like a lot of it, but I can still appreciate like there's something just emotional about the silhouette of kids on the bike going across the moon, even with almost no context, which obviously we're not making a movie when we do reboot it, but I wonder what our silhouette over the moon moment would have been,
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot like Jean-Claude Van Damme's 360 scissor kick. Sure, his movies were terrible, but that 360 scissor kick is iconic. So I'm glad you
Ron,
found that as funny as I.
That is why you are invaluable to the show, Ron, because nobody else has the perspective to connect the Amblin logo to Jean-Claude Van Damme's 360 scissor kick.
Oh gosh. Oh, dude. You should have had an Amblin logo with like just him doing the splits, kicking something. Like it's a mountain, and then he kicks it apart from within, and that's like the thing that plays before
Perfect.
the movie. Like do.
That's awesome. So we got another one from Izhan. Congrats on 50 episodes of Reboot It. James Gunn is a solid pick for directing, sure, but I'm not always into some of his quirks like, hey, isn't it cool how much we all love music? That's just me, though. I still like the dude. For a different director, though, what about Sam Raimi? I feel like he could bring a cool take to the movie, and I think he's a pretty big name. I think his Spider-Man movies have shown that he can bring a lot of charm, fun, and a little bit of horror to whatever property he's on.
In a lot of ways,
wrong.
yeah. Sam, I would almost, I'll go as far as to say Sam Raimi is kind of James Gunn before James Gunn, like a guy who comes out of DIY low budget horror filmmaking, has a very sort of frenetic, quirky visual style, and just has a really deep seated love for kind of like goofy genre fare. And I would agree that Sam Raimi is a little bit less of a slave to his own obsessions than James Gunn is.
Sure. And it's not his fault that Tobey Maguire looked like he was 42 playing a 16-year-old. It's not his fault.
No. I mean, God, watch any show or movie from the 90s with teenagers.
It's normal.
All 35. It's funny, like with Guardians and Superman and now Peacemaker behind, like you can kind of see there are the James Gunnisms are becoming more and more like very obvious to spot. And I do wonder if I just don't feel like our script would lend itself to a lot of that. But as someone pointed out, and I don't know if this comment's going to come up, but like we did have a really hard time with directors on this episode. And I think it's because the first movie is so intrinsically linked with Steven Spielberg that we were like, well, who could be so intrinsically linked with ours? I don't know if that was the right mindset, but I feel like we spent a lot of time on director, more than usual for this one.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we've said it before, but it's worth saying again, like there just aren't directors who make it their bag to make like 4-quadrant family movies nowadays. And I think that's a little bit because studios tend to only make 4-quadrant family movies if they're animated. That's just one of those weird things that has sort of, I don't think anybody made the choice to turn Hollywood in that direction, but I think via natural selection, it's like, no, the only movies that we can get families to come out to are big animated, honestly, big animated music fests in a lot of ways, or I guess Disney remakes of animated movies, which is a whole other can of worms. But that does leave us with a dearth in Hollywood. It's like, where is your Dick Donner circa the Goonies? Where is your early Spielberg? Where are those guys that, your Robert Zemeckis's, even to your Barry Sonnenfelds? We haven't produced a new crop of those guys. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, would Jon Favreau, I mean,
yes, but he's also like 60 at this point. I mean, he's been around forever.
Yeah,
and which is not. Yeah.
No, but I think to your point, Bill, is like, because now the thing is, any director that shows that they can like make a pretty competent movie that people enjoy, they get scooped up immediately to go do a Marvel movie, or they get scooped up to go do a Transformers movie, or they get scooped up to go do, I don't know, fucking Stretch Armstrong. They get tied to these stupid IPs all the time that it's just like there's no chance to flex any sort of creative muscle. I think the last one was really J.J. Abrams when he did like Super 8, and even that was just like, he just wanted to remake E.T. He just couldn't get the rights to E.T. So he just was like, well, I'll just call it something else. Like, no one is going out there and being able to be an auteur for family movies. It's like horror, sure, but not family movies,
But I think Super 8 even is sort of the example that speaks to that distinction, because as much as it is an homage to Amblin and E.T. in particular, it's also more a horror movie than a family adventure movie. Like, their E.T. is a monster. What's that?
I don't remember it like almost at all, but I just remember
Yeah.
the kids with the cameras running around in the dark.
It's just their ET was a killer monster, and like it turned into a monster movie by the end of the movie. And so I think that that's the other thing is, you know, a guy like Fede Alvarez, who did a fantastic job with Alien Romulus, like I'd be interested to see what he could do with this movie, but there isn't anything in his CV that would make you go, oh yeah, he's going to make a movie that you can bring your 8-year-old to and they're going to lose their minds. You know, like Fede Alvarez is a phenomenal director and he can deal with science fiction and he can do the visual and yada, yada. But those types of movies are just weirdly not getting made. You know, the types of movies that Spielberg put on the map.
I mean, I know he doesn't have, I don't think he has any live action directing, but what, Filoni? I mean, he usually does writing.
You always bring up Filoni. Ron, I'm not gonna spaz
He's
on
young.
you on another freaking. I'm not gonna spaz on you on another reboot. I promise, dude. But like this Filoni thing.
I don't know
it
if he
comes up
knows
so
how
often.
to-
I talk about
good.
John Wick and Batman and the Punisher and Daredevil. I do that. I bring up ridiculous examples all the time. I'm a nutto or trail off. But you bring up Filoni every time, dude.
It's
For
great.
anything from Adilai Joe to Damned If I Know. Here come Filoni down the thing.
So, sorry, I need to hear that saying again. Can you do that again?
From Adilai Joe to Damned If I Know. Yeah, well, you want this motherfucker Filoni on it. Filoni, honestly, to me, Filoni is okay in the Star Wars space. It's almost like he got hired for the exact job. He just needs to stay over there. I don't get it. I don't get the obsession. I don't get the obsession.
I've never seen him do anything else.
I thought that Jake Kasdan was going to kind of start to fill that void because Jumanji, that 2017 one, was exactly that like 4-quadrant, kind of made for kids, but still PG-13. It was a huge hit, and then I thought that was going to be a resurgence of kind of those types of movies, and then no, not really. Like, and I think he's had some like not great movies since then. So maybe not, but
well, to your earlier point, Billy, when you were talking about like it's very rare that they don't get sucked up into something. I was just looking up the dude. We disparaged him as the guy who directs the crap with The Rock, but he's a wonderful director named Jaume Collet Serra. He did House of Wax, which I didn't see. He did Orphan, which I did see. He did The Shallows, which is awesome. You want to talk about the best shark effects ever, one of the most affecting shark movies ever. Yes, it's got a ridiculous ending. All shark movies have a ridiculous ending because you can't beat a shark. You got to blow it up in some fantastical fashion or do some weird shit. You know what I'm saying? How you going to beat a shark? So, of course, every shark movie ends ridiculously. That's not even a demerit. That's a feature, not a bug. Sorry.
Never thought about it, but it's so true. Every
it's
shark
so
movie,
true.
it's so dumb.
You ain't Billy Jack. How you beat the shark?
Look, I don't know if you noticed, but Jason Statham has a really great spinning roundhouse. That's how you beat a shark.
But it's not a 360 scissor kick.
It's not a 360 scissor kick.
Yeah. So basically, okay, he does it. He does Orphan, which is good. The Shallows, which is awesome. He did. He was Liam Neeson's boyfriend for a while because he did the thriller Unknown and Nonstop. The Unknown, Nonstop, and Run All Night. And The Commuter. Damn, this dude got into the Liam Neeson bag real quick. Dude. I have a set of
steady
skills.
Work, man. That is steady work, though, you know?
I have a set of skills, and it's directing fucking Liam Neeson. All right. And then and then he got with The Rock on Jungle Cruise and Black Adam. And then he did Carry On most recently, which I do believe is him trying to break out into his own action voice again, you know, away from these egocentric movie star.
Oh, I've got a hot take for you. I really enjoyed Jungle Cruise. That's
sure. I didn't think
it's a fun movie. It's competently made and it's fun. It's like
it's
very well cast.
Jungle Cruise. Yeah. That's where I heard, like, however many years ago, 5-6 years ago, that he was peeing in cups and shit. But way before that story came out, I had heard that someone on the set was saying that they were just so over it. So when I saw that come out, I was like, "Oh yeah, that I totally heard that before."
Wow, that's insane! I didn't know about that. I didn't even know about that.
I have a long history on the Greatest Pod of saying, like, I've known a couple of people who've worked with The Rock, and they all say he's just a piece of shit. But I digress. That said, I think that yes, like that guy has a perfectly competent filmography, and like sure, Jungle Cruise is a great example of a 4-quadrant movie that works, even though maybe due to COVID, but like it didn't do well at the box office. It didn't make a big splash. And as you guys were just talking, I looked up the director of a Minecraft movie. It was frickin' Jared Hess, the guy who directed Napoleon Dynamite.
Yep.
Like, talk about a left field choice.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it's not though. It's like when we do our best directing thing, which frankly we didn't maybe do the best on this one, but when we do our best, director castings, as it were, it's always something like that, where it's like, okay, you could see that sensibility. Like Jared Hess, his entire skill set, besides directing commercials and directing sitcom stuff, which I do believe he did as well in between this, he establishes a playground for a specific type of humor. And he presents it to you very quickly as to what can happen in this world. And these are the type of jokes that are going to happen. This might not be a joke a minute type of thing, but like there's going to be an alpaca and an old like lesbian lady on an ATV and Uncle Rico. And this is what's funny about this world. He's able to do it very quickly. And on Minecraft, I had to go watch it because one of my screenwriter friends wants to watch every goddamn 4-quadrant movie because he thinks it's like going to church. And we were up in here. We were up in here doing idolatry on this idiotic, ridiculous piece of crap with a bunch of references I didn't get. But I was like, I see why a good filmmaker would put this on him. You know what I mean? Like a 50-pound vest on your strongest pal, because he has to carry the ridiculousness of this, establish all these stupid rules for what's funny about this very quickly, and stick to his stylistic guns throughout the whole thing while dealing with a bunch of. Now I don't know how he could deal with all those VFX. He must have learned that along the way.
Yeah. Well, I guess all this to say that like there is both art and science to picking a director, and it's very easy to get those choices wrong.
Sure. Well, we have another comment on that, but I want to just get one smaller comment out from LCD 130. The only show that has referenced Dunstan Checks In.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I don't even remember what the moment was, but I'm glad it came up.
I'm pretty sure I was the one who referenced it, and I will just tell you, I also don't remember why, but I will tell you that like there is a certain genre, speaking of 4-quadrant comedies, of 90s slapstick idiot movie that lives in my head. Dunstan Checks In, Baby's Day Out, Biodome, which is
Out
different.
for Justice.
But it's like they were just making those are your guys' heads. I'm giving you an insight into my head right now.
Okay.
In the mid 90s, they were just making these weird movies that like should never have made it past. You know what? It must have been the Save the Cat effect of like that dude writes blank check, gets paid $1 million, and suddenly everyone's like, how can we make blank check? And so like, let's just put kids in a situation to do dumb stuff. Just becomes like a genre of movie for 3 years. But
House Arrest, remember House Arrest? That was another one that was exactly that premise.
What was the one with Sinbad, not as a genie, but as the Secret Service agent to the first kid? There you go. Kid. Yep.
Yeah, that movie is bonkers. But anyways, I digress. Yeah. Dunstan Checks In. That was also the weird, like there was a couple movies around that same time where it was like, put a monkey in it. And remember the one with Matt LeBlanc as a baseball player with the monkey?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think that was called Ed. I think that's what that movie was called. Oh my God.
There's like,
wow.
Yeah, just put a monkey in it. I'm surprised that has not come up as a studio note for us yet.
Dude, what if E.T. was just a monkey? He was like, dude, E.T. was just Caesar for the Planet of the Apes. It's like, I have to go home. You have to help me build a transmitter. And he builds a transmitter, then a bunch of apes come down and kill us all.
you call it OT?
The movie. It's the opposite of faith. Don't trust
Hey, and
anybody.
dude, and it's anti-evolution because the monkey's
Mm.
like, I ain't related to you, motherfucker. I called
You
my
guys are
friends
dumb
from
as
space
shit.
to fuck you up.
We
are
were
not
created as
related.
we are.
Yeah. Who are you to be equal to? You pieces of shit. Then they bring down the ape army and kill the shit. Oh my god! Now we got to do that. Anyway, go ahead.
It's great. So we got another a little comment exchange. We got Alloy Seuss Main 2625. The director choice was a struggle. Also, learn more about kid actors. I like the Christological allegories. To which Ed responded, how do you learn about kid actors? Oh man. Just
a lot of
That's a
subtext
great
to that.
response. The best response. Like, go on, telling yourself.
Yeah,
How are
yeah,
you
tell
learning
us.
about these kids?
And then he wrote ... I suppose just watch more made for children and teen movies or just surf IMDb. But seriously, though, it would help to keep some names in your pocket when discussing potential actors and Reboot It for the sake of authenticity in research.
To be
Yeah.
fair and to address it, actually, we've talked about it, and if you watch next season, we might have a solve for that.
I will also say though that like we're not alone in thinking that that is a very tough ask, like to pull sort of great teenage casting out of your back pocket. Because like I just recently finished watching the new season of Gen V, the boys spinoff, and there's some real standouts in that cast. But if you look at any of their CVs up until the boys, it's literally like guest spots on all of the network procedurals, and maybe if you're lucky they were on a show when they were like 11. You know, it's just like there's no such thing as like a kid actor you could just pull out of your front pocket who isn't already a major star, because it's like, you know, McKenna Grace, who's in the new Ghostbusters franchise as like the Egon nerdy girl. It was a running joke that like if you needed a precocious preteen in a movie, you just cast McKenna Grace, because she was the only one getting those roles for like a good 5-6 year stretch. You know, it's not like there's the A tier, B tier, and C tier of kid actors. There's like the rarefied A tier, and then everybody else just looking for a break. So it's tough.
Yeah, that's why it's easiest to just say we have whoever's the casting agency do a deep search to find an unknown who nails the part. And that is literally what they do with most shows that involve having a kid act. Like that's how they do it. They find someone who just fits perfectly into the role, and if you're lucky, you get someone who really becomes a star, and if you're unlucky, you get someone who just does that one role okay, and that's the end of it, you know? So.
And I don't even know, I mean, maybe this is where we start with our research, if we're going to do research. I don't even know if Disney Channel is like still making those old, you know, 3-camera sitcoms like back in the day where you would get people like Zendaya and Ariana Grande and Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo. Like, are they making new ones of those? I don't
Billy?
even know.
You're the one who has kids here.
Well, I do know that they're starting to cannibalize themselves a bit, because they had the one that popped in my head was there's a cartoon called Vampirina, essentially like the Addams Family. And it was their original cartoon, and then they just remade it as as a live action teeny bopper show for Disney Channel. So I don't know if there's a whole bunch of new ones, but they're at least still cranking out some. That machine's not going away.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I mean, I don't know. Other than that, I don't know where to look for these alleged teen actors other than, like we just said, you know, maybe we just watch like the NCIS and Law and Order franchises and see if any victim stands out to us.
Dude, and also I loved how you were like alleged teen actors. You take that both ways, like alleged teens because they're all 30,
right?
Or alleged actors because they all suck. It's
right.
like either way, alleged, allegedly. I love it.
That's funny. So we had another comment from MGP 2210. This is in response to Ed making a Judd Hirsch Independence Day joke where he says, "You'd be dead if it wasn't for my David." And he said, laugh, thumbs up. Here on the DSTV channel, they sometimes play a censored version of Independence Day. They crudely edit out the big attack where the White House, Empire State Building, etc. are destroyed.
I saw this and I was like, wait a minute, then what is the movie? There's no stakes. How do you have Independence Day with nothing blowing up? That's crazy. That is crazy.
I'm assuming they keep in the other shots of explosions, maybe just get rid of the landmarks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just random city. We need a follow up to that. So if you're watching this, can you respond in the comments here and let us know, like, what do they show, and is it like a completely different movie if that's cut out? Because that's fascinating.
Well, I think they make a lot of hay out of the hovering of the stuff, and
I mean, to tie it back to us, like, I kind of felt that was the coolest part of our pitch, and we waffled on it a couple times. I know that we weren't all on board at first, but like the idea of like those motherships just kind of hanging out in the air, and it was like, what if Independence Day, but before shit blew up? Apparently, right. How they show the movie on DSTV. You know, like.
By the way, I just did a quick Google search of DSTV. It is digital satellite TV, but there's actually a company named DSTV that's headquartered out of South Africa. So MGP, the other question I would have is, what country are you in? Because that's kind of awesome. Where are you watching from?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got another comment from one of our biggest fans, I would say, is Suze Vera. Spike Lee was a lightning bolt. That would add something we haven't seen before in ET-like media, which I would be very curious to see. Same for Gerwig.
I forgot that we had Spike Lee in the conversation.
I think that was an Ed lightning bolt, just because we had talked about, like, we wanted to change the milieu and make it really set in a city. So who better to make a Run for Your Life in a City movie than Spike Lee himself?
Like, I wanted to be like Clockers, like just a bunch of kids slanging drugs at the middle school, and then like one of them's white, like, "Hey, white boy, what you doing here, man? I'm a fucking ET, bitch. I'm not even from here." And then we have that whole thing, and then and then ET's really good at basketball, so like Rosario Dawson tries to draw him into a criminal enterprise with agents and stuff. That's just, he got game, guys. If you know Spike Lee's oeuvre. The whole point is, I really did think that so-called urbanizing it in a way that white people would understand, frankly. So no Ryan Coogler this time. We're gonna go Spike Lee because he's become safe in his dotage. He's become safe. So I'm just like, okay, cool. I'll put the safe version of the do the right thing guy on this. I just felt like that was an almost Jared Hess level idea, but he would not do it, and he would think this was stupid and beneath him, and he would make fun of us on the Knicks telecast if we brought him an offer to do this movie. So that's what it is.
Did I pitch Joe Cornish at all in the episode? I can't.
Pretty sure you did.
Oh, Attack the Block guy? Yeah, I think so.
Well, I still think that's. I'm doubling down 4 months later.
I
agree with myself.
It's funny though.
I agree with you too. I don't know who he is.
But listening to Ed, listening to your tongue-in-cheek rationale for Spike Lee almost makes me think, like, what about Boots Riley? But I think he would be even more vociferously against doing this than Spike Lee.
Only if I can bring the horse aliens back.
I was gonna say that would be a strange third act. That alien form would be very bizarre.
Awesome. Well, as you guys know, first off, this is the best show that you watch on YouTube. You know it is. So subscribe, click those notification bells, and share it to all your friends. Tell them you know us. And on behalf of Ed, GREER, Billy Business, and producer Bill, and myself, I just want to say thank you for watching and being part of this really special community we've built here, and we'll see you next week.